Asexuality by an Actual Asexual. My name is Mag Piper, and I will be your host today, as always. Today's episode will be a little bit different because we're not recording from a script. That's what I normally do with my podcast episodes, but, well, I didn't have time this week because it's been a really long week. A quick shout out to Helga Pancake on Twitter. She made some adorable illustrations, and I just really appreciate them because they are super duper cute. Anyways, so that's a thing. And let's get started. Today, instead of answering questions or doing definitions or anything, we're going to talk about a thing that happened recently in my real life. I polled on Twitter because I was going to just, talk about my relationship with asexuality and how I found out that I was asexual. It was 50-50, and the deciding vote was the thing that happened in my real actual life the other day. I'm sure you all heard of the tragic happenings earlier this week, the death of Bianca Devins and the fallout thereafter. She identified as asexual through an Instagram post with the hashtag "This is what asexual looks like." And after her brutal murder, her photo was posted on Tumblr and Twitter under the ace positivity tags. And honestly, that's super disrespectful to both her and her, to both her memory and her parents and family and anyone who loved her. It's just, you shouldn't use photos like that as a cheap bullying tactic. It's just cruel and yeah, it's cruel. Anyways, so I was telling my mother about this because I wanted support, and my mom knows I'm asexual, even though she doesn't really approve of that. And she said something she said something like, you shouldn't put your sexuality up on the internet because that's what happens when you do that. Well, good thing she doesn't listen to my podcast because she would not approve of the things that I'm about to say. She'd feel bad because, she's my mother and she's supposed to teach me better. But if I had known about asexuality when I was younger, I think my experience with sex and all of those sorts of things would have been a lot different. If I had had representation, if I had seen people online who identified as asexual and understood what that meant, I would have been a much different person today. So it's important. It's important for there to be representation for those of us who identify outside of the, normal LGBTQ orientations. And it's important that we fight back against the aphobes and the exclusionists, because the children who are asexual, who are wondering what's going on with them and their bodies, who are wondering if they are normal or if they are broken, they need to see that they're not broken, that there's nothing wrong with them, that it's okay. So, story time. I grew up in a single parent family. My dad passed away when I was very young. So I never really saw actual adult relationships. And so I never saw that. And even with my friends' families, I didn't really spend a whole lot of time around their parents because I've always been intimidated by parents. Still am, to be honest. And so I didn't have an example of proper adult relationships. And from a very young age, I was taught that being married and having a relationship was the most important thing. It was the be-all and end-all. If you weren't married, your goal was to be married. And if you were married, your goal was to stay that way. And marriage meant having sex and having babies. And that was a good thing that you wanted. And for the longest time, I thought that's what I wanted too. Um, when I was 11, I, well, first I was assigned female at birth. I forgot completely about that. But, anyways, when I was 11, my mother, on a car ride to her workplace, told me that I would be starting my period soon and that I would start to have urges. And that was that. I was going to start to have urges. I didn't know what these urges were. I kind of knew the general idea of what sex was by that point. Um, Vaguely. I knew where babies came from. But I didn't know what these urges were supposed to be or when I would start having them. And when I didn't start having urges of any sort after I started my period, I thought that they had to be induced somehow. So I went online. And, like any dumb kid, I found the wrong places to be. I started frequenting chat sites, teen chat sites. They were supposed to be teen chat sites, but that was a lie because it was mostly adults taking advantage of stupid teenagers. And yeah, you can probably imagine what went on because I was trying to figure out what urges were supposed to be, and there were adults taking advantage of me. And I was lying because I thought I needed to do something to make the urges happen. I would tell people I was older, or I would tell people I looked different. Never sent any photos, but I got sent photos of things. Like, what is it with dick pics, guys? Don't send dick pics. That's just rude and disgusting. Blech. But I spent a lot of time on those sorts of sites, and it was really psychologically damaging looking back. But I didn't know at the time. I thought that's what I was supposed to do. I thought I was supposed to be looking for a relationship. I thought I was supposed to have a relationship. I didn't realize you were allowed to be happy outside of a relationship. My mom had been on dating sites as long as I could remember. As was my older sister. She's 13 years my senior. So by that time, she was looking for a relationship, and so they were on dating sites because that was apparently the thing. If you were a single woman, you were supposed to want to get married again, or for the first time, depending on who you were. And it was crazy, friends. In 8th grade, I started public school, and I had a classmate who was pregnant. She was 14, and she was pregnant, and I thought that I was so far behind because I wasn't interested in any of the boys, or girls for that matter. I just wasn't. It wasn't a thing. I never wanted to have sex with any of them. I never wanted to date any of them. It just wasn't a thing. And so I kind of tried to force myself to like people, to, like as in the romantic sense. Turns out I just really wanted to be friends with them. They were cool people and I wanted to be friends, and I didn't actually want to date them. I just wanted attention. And that kept going through 9th grade. And in 9th grade, I was introduced to the concept of yaoi, the Japanese manga that is essentially man-on-man pornography. And I knew it was wrong, but I thought that was something I was supposed to enjoy because I wasn't having actual crushes, and I wasn't having sex dreams. Did you know? I did not know this until last week. I did not know that girls or people with vaginas could have sexually explicit dreams. I thought it was a thing exclusively reserved for people with penises. And I didn't know. It was crazy. But that all ended when I was 16, and I discovered demisexuality, which is um, not being sexually attracted to someone until you are close to them emotionally. And I was so excited. I was so excited. And I told my mom that here was this thing. It felt like me, and it also fit in with our religious ideologies. Like, if you didn't have sex until after you were married, you were demisexual or something. I thought that's what I meant, and I was so excited. And she laughed at me. She said I was being silly, and that's not what it was. Um, and that's about the time that I stopped going on the teen chat sites because I found something. That's what I thought I was for quite a while, actually. I didn't understand the. Well, okay. I mean, I probably understood the concept, but I didn't know about asexuality until about a year ago. And I found it on the internet. I'm like, I'm not Demi. Because I've made close personal connections with people before, and I've never wanted to screw them. That's just, ew. Let's not. I'm ace. I'm asexual. I am valid. It was great. It was the best thing to ever happen to me was discovering asexuality. Because here is this word that encompasses what I've been feeling for the past 22 years, or well, the past 11 years that I've actually, been conscious of sex. And it was great. And I want to be able to help more people feel that way, feel this way, feel this euphoria, because they know who they are and they are not broken. They are not wrong just because they've never looked at somebody and thought about having sex with them, just because they've never had a sexually explicit dream, just because they think sex sounds like just something weird. It just sounds weird, honestly. Like olives. Olives sound weird to me, and so does sex. Except on pizza. Olives are pretty good on pizza. I don't think sex is good on pizza. That just sounds cheesy. Sorry, joke. So I thought it was important to do this episode. How I discovered asexuality, sort of. I mean, my relationship with sex before I discovered asexuality, mostly. Because we deserve this. We deserve representation. We deserve people who will say, this is what we look like, and we are not wrong. We are not broken. We are real, and we deserve to exist. Because we've existed since, like, the 1870s, I think. I haven't actually looked up that number, but I think I remember seeing it somewhere. So, thank you guys for listening. I know it's been a bit of a longer episode because I've just been rambling, and like I said, I didn't script this. I hope it sounds better than the previous episodes that have been scripted, because I don't sound like I'm talking to a microphone. We hope. Fingers crossed. I may still continue to script episodes in the future just because I'm more comfortable with that. But I thought it was important that this episode be unscripted because it is so personal. And honestly, I didn't have time to write this week. It's just been crazy. It's the aftershocks of the 4th of July. And then my workplace, the one that actually pays my bills, has had a sale on a specific item that I have to make. And it's just been, it's been so crazy. But thank you so much for listening. I just wanted to remind you guys that I do have an email. It's weneedspace.podcast@gmail.com. And you can also find me on Twitter at needspacepod. It'd be awesome if you could donate to my coffee, which the link to that is in the video and in my Twitter handle or Twitter description thing. But if you can't, any support is great. I totally understand if y'all are financially unavailable, because I am also financially unavailable. So I get that. Don't worry about it. I love you guys so much. The music I used is Mirror Mirror by Diamond Ortiz. And I hope we can see you again in 2 weeks when I do the next episode. You can find We Need Space on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Google Music. I said Google Podcasts last time, but that was wrong. So I hope you all have a great 2 weeks, and I will see you again